It was a typical day in Mumbai on June 7, 2023. In a quiet neighborhood called Gita Nagar, nestled in the Mira Road area, life at the Gita Akashdeep apartment complex seemed normal. However, over the past 3 days, the residents of the building had been troubled by an increasingly foul smell. At first, they dismissed it as a drainage issue, assuming it to be some plumbing fault. But this was no ordinary stench. It had an unusual, sinister odor, one that reminded some of the smell of a decomposing body. Initially, they speculated that it might be a dead rat hidden somewhere, so a group of neighbors decided to investigate and find the source of the smell. Their search brought them to the 7th floor. As they moved along the hallway, the odor grew stronger, almost unbearable. It became clear that the source of the stench was somewhere on that floor. Determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, they began checking every corner and crevice, expecting to find a decaying animal. However, their investigation led them to a specific apartment. As they stood outside the door, the smell was overwhelming, making it clear that the source was inside. Curious and concerned, the group knocked on the door, hoping to find answers. What awaited them inside was beyond anything they could have imagined. Today's story is not only brutal and horrifying, but it also shocked the entire nation. The overpowering smell seeping through the door of apartment 704 was so unbearable that some people began to gag and even vomit. Despite the discomfort, they kept knocking on the door, hoping for a response from the occupants, a 56-year-old man named Manoj and his 32-year-old partner, Saraswati. For 15 long minutes, they knocked persistently, their anxiety growing with every passing second. Then, the door creaked open. Standing in the doorway was Manoj, wearing a black mask over his face. The crowd immediately bombarded him with questions, pointing out the foul smell coming from his apartment. Calmly, Manoj dismissed their concerns, claiming he would handle it. He then asked everyone to leave and firmly shut the door behind him. This interaction left the neighbors puzzled. They noticed something unusual about Manoj's behavior in the following days. Known for being reserved and unsocial, both Manoj and Saraswati rarely interacted with anyone in the building. They didn't join social gatherings, nor did they engage in casual conversations with neighbors. But recently, Manoj had started feeding street dogs with bags full of meat. The sudden act of kindness toward the animals struck everyone as odd. Why would a man, who had barely shown interest in people, suddenly begin caring for stray dogs? It was out of character and suspicious. Adding to their unease, Saraswati hadn't been seen for the past 3 or 4 days. Only Manoj was spotted going in and out of the apartment. The unanswered questions and strange changes in behavior planted seeds of doubt in the neighbors' minds. What could be the reason for the terrible smell? And why had Saraswati seemingly vanished? The events that unfolded left the residents in the area deeply suspicious. Something about the situation just didn't sit right with them. This unease grew so strong that, one day, while Manoj wasn't at home, they decided to contact the police. When the officers arrived, they began a thorough inspection of Manoj's house. As the residents had claimed, there was an unbearable, foul stench filling the air. It was so overwhelming that the police immediately felt something was seriously wrong. However, their initial search of the house revealed nothing out of the ordinary, no signs of anything suspicious. But then, one officer's eyes fell on a large plastic sheet lying in the hall. Something seemed to be hidden underneath it. With growing tension, they removed the cover. What they found beneath it sent chills down their spines. There were 2 large saws. Upon closer inspection, they noticed something horrifying. Tiny pieces of what looked like human flesh stuck in the teeth of the saws. The smell in the house, already unbearable, suddenly seemed to grow stronger. Following the trail of the stench, the officers were led to the kitchen. At first glance, it seemed like any ordinary kitchen. There were pots, pans, and buckets scattered around. Nothing initially appeared unusual. But when they started opening the buckets and containers, the scene they uncovered was beyond gruesome. Inside the buckets, they found what looked like ground human flesh, reduced to a horrifying paste. Some officers couldn't hold back and immediately vomited from the sheer horror of the sight and the overpowering smell. As they continued their search, they discovered even more appalling evidence. Some flesh had been boiled in pots, while other pieces had been roasted. The officers were confronted with what could only be described as cooked human body parts. You might wonder how the police confirmed that the ground flesh was human. After all, it was reduced to such a state that identifying it seemed impossible. The horrifying answer to this question was discovered in the kitchen itself. When the officers opened the cooker sitting on the stove, they were met with a sight that would haunt them forever. Inside the cooker was the fully boiled head of Saraswati. The gruesome discovery left the officers in stunned silence. Just as the police were piecing together this gruesome evidence, Manoj unexpectedly returned home. He was promptly arrested on the spot, with no chance to flee or deny the situation. Once in police custody, Manoj was interrogated, and his confession was nothing short of horrifying. The details he revealed sent shockwaves not just through the neighborhood, but across the entire country. Manoj Sain, a 56-year-old man born in 1967 in the Ahmednagar district of Maharashtra, grew up facing many challenges. Orphaned at a young age, Manoj had no family to support him during his early years. Life was tough, but he was determined to overcome his circumstances. Despite his struggles, Manoj was an exceptionally bright student. After completing his schooling, he enrolled in a technician course at the Industrial Training Institute, ITI, believing that his skills and knowledge would secure him a stable future. Confident and hopeful, Manoj decided to move to Mumbai in his early 20s to seek a job. He was convinced that the bustling city would offer him the opportunities he needed to build a better life. Unfortunately, the reality was far from what he had imagined. Despite his efforts, he couldn't find work as a technician in Mumbai. Instead of returning to Ahmednagar, Manoj decided to stay in the city and explore other options. He started taking up small jobs in the nearby areas. Eventually, he landed a position at a ration shop in Borivali, working under the Wallers Consumers Cooperative Society. Over the years, Manoj dedicated himself to this job, proving to be a reliable and hard-working employee. Through years of persistence and careful saving, Manoj managed to purchase a flat in Borivali. This marked a significant achievement in his life, providing him with a sense of stability and financial security. However, even with his modest success, Manoj's personal life remained solitary. By his mid-30s, he still hadn't married. Manoj wasn't a loner or someone who shied away from people. In fact, he was known for his friendly nature. Among these interactions, one stood out: his acquaintance with Saraswati Vaidya. Saraswati Vaidya, a 32-year-old woman born in 1991, also hailed from the Ahmednagar district, just like Manoj. This shared hometown became the spark for their initial conversation. It all started when Saraswati visited Manoj's ration shop one day to buy groceries. A simple chat about their common roots gradually turned into a daily exchange of words. As they grew more comfortable with each other, Saraswati began opening up about her life. She shared how she had struggled academically in her younger years, eventually dropping out of school after failing her 10th grade exams. With no other choice, she had left Ahmednagar at a young age to move to Mumbai in search of work. Life in the city was challenging, and she had to settle for small, low-paying jobs just to survive. Manoj, too, began to share his story, revealing how he was an orphan with no family to fall back on. He explained the struggles he had faced while trying to make a life for himself in Mumbai. When Saraswati heard his story, she found herself relating to him on a deeper level. She too was an orphan who had come to the city with dreams of building a better future, but had faced many similar hardships. These shared experiences created a strong bond between them. Both had endured loneliness, hardships, and the absence of family support. They found comfort in each other's company, understanding each other in ways no one else could. What began as casual conversations soon blossomed into a close friendship, and before long, This closeness deepened into a romantic relationship. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, and the two started dating. As Manoj and Saraswati's relationship grew deeper, Manoj began to think about taking the next step. He believed that living together would be better for both of them, allowing them to share their lives more fully. With this in mind, Manoj decided to rent out his Borivali flat. This not only provided him with extra income, but also set the stage for a fresh start with Saraswati. In 2015, Manoj took a significant step. He rented a 2 BHK flat in Geeta Nagar Phase 7 on Mira Bhayandar Road. The apartment, located in J Wing, flat number 704, became their new home. It was here that Manoj and Saraswati began their life together. They kept things simple, spending their days at work and their evenings in each other's company. Their life appeared to be normal and uneventful, at least on the surface. However, there was something unusual about their arrangement. Both Manoj and Saraswati were extremely private about their relationship. They kept their living situation and romantic connection a closely guarded secret, not sharing it with anyone. Whenever Saraswati accompanied Manoj to his workplace, she introduced him as her uncle. Similarly, if someone spotted Manoj with Saraswati, he would refer to her as his daughter. In a way, these introductions weren't entirely false. The significant age gap between them, nearly 2 decades, made their relationship appear unconventional. To avoid judgment or unwanted attention, they chose to present themselves as family rather than partners. In the new flat he moved into in his colony, he kept to himself. He avoided his neighbors, stayed away from social events, didn't speak to anyone in the park below, and even ignored the neighbors who came to his door. In fact, the people living across from him said they had never seen the door of number 704 open. Between 2015 and 2019, both of them secretly got married at a temple, something Manoj never told anyone. However, Saraswati had shared it with one of her friends, who tried to stop her. Her friend warned her that she might be rushing into this marriage since Manoj was much older, almost the age of her grandfather. Despite that, Saraswati chose to accept Manoj, and they both accepted each other. But now, the big question remains: why did he kill her so brutally? If you're still watching, please hit the like button. It helps us reach more viewers. Thank you. During the questioning, he shared 2 different stories. The first one was about the troubled life of Saraswati and Manoj. They lived together in the same house, but things were difficult. During the corona pandemic, Manoj's shop had to close down, leaving him without any job. As a result, Saraswati would often express her frustration, and there was a lot of tension between them. The constant arguing grew worse, especially after the pandemic started. Manoj didn't have much to do during that time, which only added to Saraswati's stress. Eventually, Saraswati felt overwhelmed and, in a moment of despair, took her own life by consuming poison on June 3, 2023. This made the date of her death clear. Manoj, however, was afraid. He feared that people might think he was somehow involved in her death. Instead of seeking help, he became anxious and began to quietly try to handle the situation on his own. He bought a chainsaw, hoping to manage things in a way that wouldn't raise suspicion. He made some attempts to get rid of evidence, but the task was too difficult for him. As an older man, he found it hard to act quickly or efficiently. His attempts to deal with the situation on his own were slow and strained. He placed the large pieces of Saraswati's body in a tub and bucket. Every day, after cutting her body, Manoj would go to work as usual. When he came home, he would check on the body parts, which were slowly being cooked in the pressure cooker. The next morning, he would wrap these body parts in foil and take them downstairs to feed them to the stray dogs in the neighborhood. As the investigation progressed, the police grew suspicious. They pressed Manoj harder, questioning him repeatedly, because they found it hard to believe his story. Not only did they find the body parts, but they also discovered a tile cutter machine and a 200-volt electric chainsaw. When they searched Manoj's phone, they found troubling evidence: search history for fast-acting poisons. When the police showed him his mobile search history, he was stunned. Then, Manoj gave his second story. This time, he admitted that he had killed Saraswati. According to Manoj, Saraswati was extremely possessive. She would often check his phone, especially when he came home late from work. She would question him, asking where he had been, and sometimes even suspect that he was seeing other women. Manoj said her suspicions weren't completely unfounded, as the police had found messages from several women on his phone. This made Saraswati's jealousy seem more reasonable, yet it also scared Manoj. He feared that Saraswati might do something harmful to him because of her possessiveness. Fearing that she might kill him, he killed her. That, according to him, was the reason he ended her life. Based on the investigation, charges under IPC Section 302 for murder and IPC Section 201 for destruction of evidence were filed against Manoj. Since the case is still ongoing, a final verdict has yet to be reached. What do you think about this story? What punishment do you think Manoj should face for his actions? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching.